new to the business right now might be watching this. Or maybe you're a manager and you got a new person on your team and you're like, I got to get this person up and running because I think they can be successful. Let me just tell you something. If a salesperson, even a brand new one who doesn't have a customer base, if they can learn to sell this way I'm describing, this empathetic approach, proactive empathy, they will literally have the close ratio of someone who's selling a repeat buyer. Right. They can start selling at the volume of someone who has an established book of business. Many of my brand new salespeople have 20 and 30 car months within a few months if they apply this approach, because as we just said, the way a person thinks and feels is vastly more important than the steps or the word track. All you have to do when you greet a brand new customer, a stranger, all you have to do is speak to them from their perspective. If you want, we can just do a couple of practical examples. Can we role play a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's role play. Let me just unpack it in a very practical way because I want people to be able to take a real note and go, I'm going to try this with a customer. So let's just, Billy, real quick. Let's just imagine that you and I are on the lot for now. Okay, let's just go classic greeting real quick, okay? And then we can talk about it on the phone and online and all that, same examples. For now, let's just talk mindset first, then mechanics, psychology first, and then the steps. So first of all, if you're a customer and you don't know me, what are some of the emotions you might be thinking when you first see me coming?
Well, I'm on guard. This guy wants something. This guy, he's a salesman. He's gonna,
right.
This guy's gonna want to force me into looking at cars, or I just have my guard up.
You're a little bit guarded, and there's a little bit of a stereotype of car salesman, so you're a little bit guarded, maybe, right? Now, yes. I'm the salesman. I'm walking up to greet you. If I had to ask you, let's just think from a psychology perspective. Let's just put a pattern on a timeline. If I had to guess, what are the most common things that salespeople hear from customers because of the guard in the first 2 to 5 minutes? What's the most common things a salesman's going to run into in that first 2 to 5 minutes because of people's guards? They're going to hear things like what? What do customers say?
I'm just looking.
Followed by, give me another
one. How much is this?
Yeah, price.
Mm-hmm.
How much time do they have?
Oh, very little time. Short
no time. In fact, when are they planning on buying?
Not right now, for
not
sure.
Not today. By God, not today. I can tell you that much. Right? If I just asked anybody watching, if I just said, how common are things like just looking, not buying today, first stop, don't have any time, and just want to get your price? Mm-hmm. How common is that?
Very.
Right? Universally.
Yeah.
Right? In fact, a funny story. I was in Russia at an Audi dealership in Russia talking to a salesman, Ivan, and he says to me this. He says, we just started talking. He says, John, biggest problem we have here. Customer, just looking. Best price. Not buying today. John, how you deal? He says. Because even in Volgograd, Russia, at an Audi dealership, Ivan has the same objections that Billy has in Georgia at a Kia dealership.
Absolutely.
It's universal psychology. So here's where proactivity, here's where Sellchology comes in. I know you're thinking those things. So what I teach my sales students to do is not how to overcome these things, not the clever comebacks, but how to introduce the objection so you don't have to overcome it at all. Mm-hmm. How to speak from the customer's perspective so the customer doesn't want to reject you. That's what I'm talking about. So let me show you what that looks like. You're out on the lot. I'm walking up to greet you. Now, we just said the 5 things that are most common. I'm going to show you how conversationally to do this. I just want you to, Billy, just pretend you're a customer and just answer the way you think a normal person would, okay?
Okay.
So as I walk up to you, I'm giving you a little space as I'm walking up, and I introduce myself something like this. I say, hi, sir. Welcome to our dealership. Are you here doing some looking or some shopping a little bit today?
Yeah.
Great. Do you mind if I ask, are you looking for more product related information? Are you looking at pricing information, or a little bit of both? What information are you looking at?
I'm just getting started. I'm curious as to, some of these cars.
Okay. Sounds like you're in the beginning stages and still trying to narrow it down. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Do we have the pleasure then of being your first stop, or have you actually been to a few places?
First place I've been to.
I appreciate that. I'm always curious, given how many different dealerships there are and all the places you could go first. Is there a particular reason you decided to start with us? What brought you here first?
That's good, Jonathan. Sorry, I broke the pole, the role play. So, yeah, man, I actually saw this truck online, and it caught my eye.
Fantastic. Well, what I'd like to do is I want to confirm a couple things for you. I want to confirm the availability of the truck, make sure it's everything that we promised online. Keep in mind that I do have vehicles on the ground. I have vehicles that are coming in, and I have a pretty good dealer network too. So if we want to look at some other options, we can do that. Do you have that kind of flexibility, or is this something that you're trying to get done right away?
Definitely. I don't have, it's nothing I have to do now.
Well, the reason I say that is your flexibility just opens up more options. It just gives us more chances to look at different things. If it turned out that you found a vehicle you liked, if you like the vehicle, like the deal, and like the way you're treated, if you decide to buy today, I also won't stop you. Is that fair?
Fair enough.
And I want to be respectful with your time. Is it okay if I just ask you a few questions, then we can look at some vehicles?
Sure, man.
I appreciate it. Now, in that simple exchange, which was less than 2 minutes, I addressed that you were looking. I addressed that you were interested in pricing information. I addressed first stop. I addressed not buying today, and I addressed time. I addressed all 5 in under 2 minutes by bringing them up first. Does that make sense, Billy?
Absolutely.
Now, what happens when you do this, by the way, which anybody who wants to try to master this, and if you want to, even if you never sign up for a single Sellchology service ever, if you just want to learn how to think this way, here's an exercise, a practical exercise. And by the way, management, here's a great sales meeting for you to do. Take out a sheet of paper and just write like a line across, like a timeline line. And at the front of the line, put the greeting and then put the close at the end. So you just have a timeline across a sheet of paper. When you have this timeline written out, all I want you to do is think in groups or clusters of objections. If a customer was going to give us anything that would slow or stop the sale, when do they happen? And what you'll find is there's kind of key points in the timeline of the sale. If you kind of map out the road to the sale on a timeline, you say, when do we get objections? If we're going to get them, if anything's going to slow or stop the sale, when do they happen? And what you'll find is there's critical key steps in the sales process where things do get slowed down or cattywampus on us. And what you want to do then is whatever that key area is, just write down the most common 3, 5, 7 things that are likely, that could come up. What could come up? And then you make a master list of them. And in this case, I just demonstrated with the first 5 in the first 30 seconds, right? So you make a list of here's the 5 things that are super common. Write them down. Now, ask this question. This is where a sales meeting can really become a training meeting, is ask the question, if we had a time machine and if we knew this was going to happen to us, what could we have said or done to prevent it from happening at all? And I call this the time machine philosophy. If you want to not get stuck in a rut in your business, apply the time machine philosophy. Anytime something negative happens, anytime you get an objection, anytime you get rejection, ask yourself a question. If I owned a time machine, knowing what I now know, and I could have gone back in time just a little bit, what could I have said or done to prevent this from even happening? How do I prevent objections instead of overcoming them? And the better you are at doing that, the less objections you get. And the less objections you get, the smoother the process is. The smoother the process is, the better experience. The better experience, the more likely you create a raving fan advocate. And that is how Sellchology works.